This is a story of a river, a crisis, and a solution born from nature itself. Welcome to Algae Link. The Ganges River, celebrated for its spiritual role in purification and healing, is now confronting an environmental crisis due to the leather tanning industry. Stretching 1,569 miles, the Ganges is home to 10% of the world's population, over 650 million people. Along the river lies the city of Kanpur, home to around 300 leather tanneries. 90% of their products are exported to the US and Europe. This leads us into global supply chain accountability. These tanneries often discharge untreated waste like effluents and heavy metals such as chromium into the nearby rivers due to weak implementation of pollution regulations. It bleeds into the local landscapes, darkening and foaming the water, poisoning the local flora and fauna, and finally making its way into the drinking water and local food, where it comes into direct contact with humans. Once the local communities are overexposed, it can wreak irreparable damage, causing skin conditions, chronic skin ailments, and other health-related issues such as ulcers, asthma, tuberculosis, and lung cancer. While these effluents and heavy metals can be filtered, Kanpur only has 3 wastewater treatment plants servicing the massive city, which are not operating at full capacity and are using outdated equipment. This is not nearly enough filtering power to catch everything. Despite these conditions, brands sourcing leather often don't trace or monitor working conditions beyond their immediate suppliers. These are the effects of global climate inequality. We've seen what's at stake. Now it's time to ignite change, with a solution built on determination, vision, and hope. Backed by science and driven by purpose, Algae Link proves that sustainable innovation can heal our waterways and ignite a global movement for a cleaner, brighter future. The Algae Link ferry extends the work of wastewater treatment plants, not by replacing them, but by continuing the cleanup directly on the river, where it's still desperately needed. Algae Link is more than a treatment tool. It travels along the same ferry routes that communities use every day, for work, for school, for worship, and more. People see it, they interact with it. They watch the algae move, grow, and filter alongside them. It becomes not just a machine for cleansing, but a vessel for connection, a floating exhibition, a symbol of restoration, and a bridge between science and public awareness. In this way, Algae Link doesn't just help clean the water, it helps the community right beside it. If you are curious about how it works, let's dive deeper into the science behind Algae Link. There are 2 main types of tanned leather, vegetable and chromium. 90% of all leather that is bought and sold is chrome tanned leather. In traditional vegetable tanning, this process takes about 2 months. In the newer process of chrome tanning, this process takes 2 days. The chromium salts used in the tanning process are classified as chromium-3, which is harmless to humans. However, when oxidized, chromium-3 can turn into chromium-6, a powerful carcinogen. There are 2 common ways that chromium-3 is oxidized. First, aqueous oxidation, and second, thermal oxidation. Aqueous oxidation occurs when tanning factories dispose of wastewater containing chromium-3 into natural waterways, like the Ganges River. The chromium-3 then comes into contact with oxygen in the water and manganese dioxide in the sediments, turning it into chromium-6. Now the river used for drinking and daily usage is contaminated. Thermal oxidation occurs when waste containing chromium-3 is burnt, and the high heat of the fires combined with the oxygen in the air turns it into chromium-6. This results in chromium-6 spreading to the air or staying in the ashy remains, where it can now be breathed in, absorbed by the soil, or flow into waterways. Well, now what? How do we get rid of it? Our approach begins here with algae that can absorb chromium-6 from waterways. The cell walls of algae are rich in functional groups like carboxyl, hydroxylamine, and sulfhydryl groups. These groups have a natural affinity for binding heavy metals, including chromium-6, through ion exchange, complexation, and electrostatic attraction. It is a passive process that can even occur when the algae are dead. To test if algae could really absorb chromium-6, we decided to grow algae ourselves, specifically Chlorella vulgaris for its high absorption rate, taking in 80% of heavy metals in 1 hour. We then found a common source of chromium-6, pressurized treated lumber, and sanded off just enough dust to test with. After mixing them together and straining out excess sediment, the results were not disappointing. After just an hour, the level of chromium-6 was halved, and 4 more hours later, there was almost none left. Demonstrating the power of science in real time, we have harnessed this process to turn it into a practical, multi-purpose solution. First, clean equipment is loaded from the water treatment plant. When the boat is cruising, river water gets pushed into a pipe opening from the front. The water goes through the first terracotta filter to remove trash, soil, or any large particles. Then the water gets mixed with algae to start the absorption process, flowing throughout the boat. Once it is done, the water passes through another terracotta filter to separate the excess sludge and purified water. At the end of its cycle, the algal sludge is collected and stored in a brine tank, while the clean water is released back into the river. The brine tank is then transported to the water treatment plant, where they continue to reduce the remaining chromium-6. But it doesn't end there. Once the algae have fulfilled their role in filtration and reduction, it's repurposed into biodiesel, fueling the ferry boat to complete a fully sustainable cycle. Algae Link is here to bring hope and life. Algae Link, connecting people to clean water.